magic grows, ideas bloom, and insight flows. The AI salon, let's begin.
Nikki and Nermeen, her lead developer, are walking us through a real-life working AI agent build for one of the most emotionally avoided areas of adult life, as we just all testified to, end of life and digital afterlife planning. So they'll go under the hood on how they built Jessie, what broke during the build, and design decisions that make people feel safe enough to actually engage. So the learning outcomes are you will learn how to translate a complex, emotionally sensitive process into an AI agent that reduces friction, how non-developers can use AI as a technical copilot to design conversation flows and deploy a working agent, and how a real-world death tech AI system evolves through iteration and emotional design decisions. So we're going to try and keep the conversation interactive here as well. But if you wouldn't mind, just if you have a question, just like put up your hand and we'll come around to it as soon as there's like a natural break in the conversation. Nikki does have a few minutes to go over, like if we happen to go over the hour. So, if you're able to stay on and we're still going and the conversation is good, we can keep on going a little bit after the scheduled end time. And then, yeah, we should be having depending on how the conversation goes, because everything goes different in every LOL, depending on how the conversation goes, we should be allowing for like a 15-minute or so Q&A at the end, but don't let that stop you from asking questions on the way through. So, and I forgot to even do like Nikki's introduction, because like I'm looking at the wrong thing here. So Nikki does have a background in healthcare, project management, data governance, and risk analysis, and speaks and trains at the intersection of death tech, AI implementation, and digital legacy planning. And anything I've missed, please feel free to elaborate on that. And also, I will let you introduce Nermeen as well. So bring it over to Nikki.
It's all good. Well, I just want to say I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. And if we're not connected, please, we'll make that connection. And it's all about networking. And Nermeen and I, we actually met on Sabrina Rozanov's school site, which is Women Build AI. And we probably met maybe 3.5, 4 months ago. And now we talk every day. And she is baked into my company's DNA, and it's just been an amazing journey. So for collaboration, and Nermeen, you would share a little bit about what interests you in my project.
So I come from a software engineering background, and I'm a mom too. I have a family. So I was laid off back in 2024. And then when I decided I'm not going to be working full time, but yet I was passionate deep down about building products, softwares. And so in 2025, I started my own consultancy as a Blue Sprout agency. And I was like bootstrapping, hunting for like new exciting projects. And this is something when I met Nikki, and I casually met her about, okay, you have any, so we were talking about web development, right? So we talked more and then figured out that she had like some trouble setting up her website. And then more and more we started talking. Death tech was new to me. And when I started finding out, so first I was like, no, wait, is this something that comes into my religion or my culture? I stopped, and she explained more that she's educating. It kind of interests me more because it's a challenging thing, right? And I love challenges. So we started talking, and then as we were talking, I heard from her that she's trying to build a SaaS software that serves as a service, and eventually she has like a whole roadmap, but she just needs someone to fill that gap. So she has ideas, but there is no one to really execute it. That's where I come into the picture, and I was like, okay, let me understand fully. So it's been 3 months. I hear from her more, and every day I learn something new. Okay, that's something that's very important for as a human being, as a person. Whether you're in the United States, whether you're anywhere in the world, this is something to talk about, even within the family too. So taking my technical, listening to the business idea or vision try to fill this gap, and
here we are.
here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
And like I said, so even if as a non-technical, founder with a very viable idea and obviously needed idea, you still need at some point someone you can vibe code up until just a certain point. And I think we all just need to, to kind of come to that conclusion. And at some point, if you want to scale it, you're going to have to raise the bar and bring other people on with a higher level of expertise. All right. So what screen do you see? Let me know.
You can
Nikki?
see
From
our
avoid to
avoidance
action.
to action.
Super. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, let's see if we can get, so again, we're going from I'm taking a very sensitive topic. So death, here's the truth is that our generation, all of us, we are the first generation to die with more digital assets than physical ones. And how are we going to manage that? And now with the tsunami of AI that is upon us, it's not even like 6 months ago it was at the shoreline. And now it is literally, we're barely about to survive, but we have our digital afterlife. And then how do we manage it? So the use case I'm trying to solve here is that, death has been such a taboo topic that we have two issues. One is death is a taboo topic, and administratively speaking, it's complex. And now with the advent of AI, it just creates this quagmire. So we need to start having these conversations and understanding, what does it mean? So word of the day, if you've got notes, you've got a note taker, take it on, because the word of the day is thanatology. So I call myself a digital thanatologist. So Thanos, think of Marvel Comics Thanos. For whatever reason, Marvel Comics decided to make it evil, but actually the word Thanos is the Greek god of death. And Thanos is actually a benign god. And they talk about more of a peaceful death, because the most humanistic thing we will all go through is our own mortality. What's different, though, in this digital age is from a thanatology standpoint, so think of psychology, sociology, anthropology. So from thanatology is that because we're not talking about it, we're not preparing for it. And that's what my solution is trying to do. Because of the digital space, it has become more complicated. And I think that it's been kind of like cooking the frog. Back in, look, Facebook opened in 07. I think I joined in 09. When, think about it, when did you join Facebook? And like, oh, this is such a great way to share my photos and reconnect with people I haven't stayed in contact with. And I admit that I have relationships on my digital platforms that if it wasn't for access, I probably wouldn't have been able to keep track of them. But the problem now is that I don't own my digital life. The photos, the connections, everything on there, I don't own it. So if I die tomorrow, or when I pass, my family will not be able to have access or control of it. And if you're not aware, in December of 2025, Facebook received their patent. They applied for it 3 years ago, and they received their patent to be able, it's AI technology that will enable them to create reoccurring content of people who are already gone. Because I think the date is 2038. Well, there'll be more, I think they're calling Facebook, it'll be like a ghost platform. There'll be more dead accounts, more accounts where people are dead, physically dead, but the accounts are still active. And so their patent technology is going to allow them to continue to create content on people who are already gone. So think about it. If we don't prepare now, we won't own our digital afterlife. So let me introduce you to Jessie. So you'll see behind me, I actually have a little story about Jessie. Behind me, Jessie is our mascot, Endeavo's mascot. And I was telling Vicky, I have two responses when I get on a call with somebody and they see my background. Either they'll ask me, can you blur your background because that the skeleton is really freaking me out. And as a thanatologist, I take that in. I'm like, oh, I guess you have some issues around death. Or the other response is, are you a Grateful Dead fan? Because I see you got the skeleton behind you. Actually, this was inspired. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the movie Coco. It's a Disney movie with Mexican origins. And so Day of the Dead, if you're not familiar, is a Mexican holiday that they celebrate. And this was really my inspiration because I wanted to create a mascot, an image that would empower people, inspire people to have these conversations instead of run away from them. So let me introduce you to Jesse.
Hey there, friend. I'm Jesse L. Bones, your friendly and devil guide. Welcome to the Digital Legacy Planning Masterclass, where even skeletons stay organized. I'm here with thanatologist Nikki Weiss, and together we guide you toward clarity, calm, and peace of mind that's to die for. I know, digital legacy planning sounds serious, but trust me, I've been dead a while. It's easier than you think. Today's all about getting your digital life in order with clear steps, thoughtful choices, and a plan that truly fits your life. So grab a notebook, maybe a warm drink, and stay with us. We're making life planning simple, soulful, and slightly less bone dry. All right, Nikki, flesh this one out for us. I'll just be over here rattling with excitement for what's next.
So we built Jesse with VO3 and 11 Labs. And initially we had, now that was my voice. And we've been going back and forth as far as which voice to use. And I have not dived into IP around 11 Labs and voice activation. So even knowing there were other voices I really liked more than mine, I still wanted to own Jesse, or I'm trying to own Jesse enough. Has anybody else used 11 Labs or VO3 to create an image, a caricature?
I used it in the beginning, like a couple of years ago, but I haven't touched it since.
And so what we're hoping to do, what we're looking to do now is we've created a bot within our SaaS system, and we're doing a lot of our branding around Jesse. So Jesse is what we're going to be calling our trusted guided advisor. And so we're trying to, again, de-emotionalize and allow people to look at this more in a friendly way. So I don't know what for any of you, if that was more of a positive experience. I've actually shown that video to a few kids and they actually were giggling when they were watching so the idea is let's make this less scary. So just a little bit about what got me here and how did I become a digital. Sure.
Sorry, before you move on, Moji has a question.
Yeah, and I can't see the chat.
Oh,
so
Oh, sorry about that.
yeah.
Just really quick, I also want to mention Well Said. As far as instead of 11 Labs, what I like about Well Said is that they use human beings. They use actual actors who get paid to do voiceovers. So just something to put out there where it's human beings, artists who are actually getting paid and doing voiceovers. It's called Well Said.
Well said. And I think moving forward, we have to be more conscientious on those companies as well. Like where are the companies that we can, shopping at a Walmart versus shopping at your local grocer, right? I think it's going to come down to the companies and their integrity and mission statements behind it. So thank you for sharing. Cool. Other questions or experiences about, so the idea is that we're inspired by Jesse, and Jesse is, again, kind of leading us into this conversation around those difficult. And I'm also seeing a lot of other companies that are trying to create, especially in the death tech space, they're trying to create caricatures so people can just start to relate to the conversation and open it up in a friendly way. But at the same time, it's a skeleton, so we're still not avoiding the conversation. So a little bit about my story. People are like, how did you become a digital thanatologist, much less in the death and dying? And you'll find when you're talking to a founder that our passion project usually has a family connection, and mine certainly does. That's me down in the Snoopy sweatshirt. And this was an epic family trip back in 1974, 75. we were in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. What the story doesn't tell here is that my father had been suffering from a sore throat that annoyed him for months. And it wasn't until after this trip that he went to the doctor, and then he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer that eventually, after 18 months, took his life. So I was 11 when he passed, and my mother, who was the quintessential of 1950s, met my father when she was 14. They were married by just shy of 18, had all her children by the time she was 30, and a widow by the time she was 40. And even knowing she didn't have to deal with the digital piece, she still had to go through the legal, financial, and physical aspects of moving on and with life and dealing with the administrative pieces after my father was gone. So remember, this is in the 70s. So mental health, bereavement, grief, those weren't words that were used. I think I went back to school the day after he died. It was just very different. 10 years later, though, my mother was diagnosed with cancer, brain, liver, lung, large cell carcinoma. So she decided not to go through long treatment. And 3 months later, she passed away. And I was 21. So growing up for me, this was very much part of my childhood. For some people, they run away from the experience. For whatever reason, I leaned into it. And the first part of my career, I worked as a hospice clinician, supporting families at end stage of life. But when I turned 40, I actually wanted to make some money. And that's when I pivoted from hospice clinician to project management. And that's where I've been for the last 20 years. I actually currently, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I work for a large healthcare organization. And then realized, it was about 3 years ago when my husband and I started redoing our wills, and we realized like, oh, we had not updated our wills. And I started going through it and realized like, this is complicated. Like, death is easy for me. I'm a project manager. So going through the step-by-step project process, and my brother happens to be an estate attorney, but this whole thing was complicated. And I was trying to understand, like, why is it still complicated? Why are people still taboo about death? And then I realized what's going to change the conversation is it's our phones. It's our data. Because we are now at a crossroads where, look, part of living is dying. We're all going to die. We'll die one of three ways, either sudden and unexpected, or we'll get the terminal diagnosis, or we'll need long-term care. But if we don't plan for it, especially with our digital life now, the mayhem left behind is going to be huge. So what Endeavo is looking to do, and what we started to build out our software around, is trying to break through this intention action gap. And when you're building something, it's really good, I'm finding when I'm talking to investors now, to make a reference to other platforms or apps that are currently out there, because it kind of gives you it lands on what we're trying to do. So when I talk to investors and say, hey, imagine if Duolingo and Noom had a baby, and that would be Endeavo. That would be my final playbook. What we're trying to do is educate people what Duolingo does. And then Noom, with the weight management program, is trying to use behavioral modification. Because again, death is a taboo topic, so emotionally high, but it's administratively very complicated. So that's the educational piece. And we're trying to break through that intention action gap. There's 10 reasons why people avoid the conversation. Just for time's sake, you might have one of these reasons, why you are avoiding the conversation. Might be a lack of privacy, the cost, but it's complicated. So how do we take a very complicated situation and turn it into actionable steps? So let me explain. This is Aretha Franklin, for those that don't know. Did you know that Aretha Franklin had pancreatic cancer? She was diagnosed when she was just shy of 70, and 8 years she lived with it. She never had a will. She had handwritten her thoughts, what we call a holographic will, but she never had it. So when before her death, and she was sick for a long time, $80 million estate. But because she died without a will, because she died with nothing in place, 5 years later, her estate was only $6 million. This is like one of those use cases that everybody talks about in the estate planning. Like, don't be Aretha Franklin. And that's why we want people to start taking those action intention, breaking through those intention action gaps. So in building, you always need to like, what are you trying to solve? What's the problem? So the problem is death is highly emotional and it's administratively complicated. So then the next step is to create the use cases, which is the 10 reasons why people avoid it. So understand why people don't do it is important when you're building out your user stories. And then also examples of either famous people or if you can do case studies. And then it's about the framework. So I spent about using AI. At first, ChatGPT and I was spending more time with ChatGPT than my husband. And at times on the weekends, definitely than my job. And just trying to understand like, okay, what is the data? Because what is the data? What is the framework? So I would say that this framework was a collaboration and simplifying it in a way that people could understand, oh, we're not just talking estate planning because people were getting confused, but we're talking about end of life planning, which includes all of the legal, financial, physical, and digital. So I needed to de-emotionalize it. So it's like, okay, what's going to make me different than everybody else out there? Because it is that unique differentiator that investors want to see. How are you making a better mousetrap? And for me, I used my project management skill set, and my better mousetrap was I'm going to de-emotionalize this conversation and make it more of a project and put it around the project planning. So the process, again, AI and I spent a lot of time, pressure testing, bringing out scenarios, taking all of my ideas and being able to condense it down into one space. So we built out the process of, okay, when you need to make these decisions, how does someone make a decision to build out a final playbook? All right, well, they're going to reflect, decide, document, execute, we're going to communicate, and then iterate. You will have access to all of these slides. So, and happy to set up a one-on-one if you want to learn more about it. But we're just trying to show you that all of these pieces needed to be baked into the solution. And it's actually really hard to do. I can come up with the ideas, but how do I make these ideas, these processes, now use cases and user stories to give to Nermeen so she and her team can start building out the SaaS solution? More challenging than you think. So the journey that we've been on was from January of 24. I basically, you'll see, you started with a Google form and just asked, and I was able to get 107 people to fill out this Google form that had like 15 questions on there. And then we had the opportunity, and scan the QR code, please. We did the hackathon with Sabrina. And this is what we came up with the hackathon, which is what we call version 1. So I want to make sure everyone's got access to this before we go on. Nermeen's going to share with you just about a few minutes of her journey. She does have she's got a family commitment, so I want to be mindful of her time. But if you are able to get the QR code, we can always go back to it in a little bit. But I wanted to share with you. So that was the problem I'm looking to solve, right? It's a real problem, but how do we take the ideas around how to fix a problem, and now we have to like squeeze it into a roadmap that I can give it to a developer in a way that they understand it and then are able to make it functional. So let me pass it off to Nermeen here.
Thank you, Nikki. And thank you guys for listening. So we came up with the idea, and the idea was Nikki's, of course. I just put it into an implementation that how would be the user experience looking at her framework. And she's kind of giving us some questions, like 10 questions that we set up in a React application. And for the purpose of hackathon, we wanted to keep it really simple. What it does, it take 10 questions, score them, and assess, like building our own algorithm that tells you with what level are you on in your digital life. So there were 10 questions. We used React app for that, React as a framework, and I vibe coded it. We had other team members as well. So what it does is take that question and answers, score them, Let's say if you have one question, you have all your passwords in one place. If the answer is no, there were like 4 options, so we just scored it 10, 6, 3, So, but there is no user login. You don't have to log in. You don't have to you don't have any storage behind it. You take it once, you get an email with a PDF file. It's a 7-day planner, 7-day action. Day 1, what you're gonna do. Day 2, even if you're in a good place, like you have set up everything, maybe you're too conscious about your digital afterlife or whatever. So then, even then, you have some actionable items, and that's framework that Nikki has provided us. We put it into automation, you can say smart automation behind it. There are certain components to this application, like email API, PDF generation, and some formatting out there. But then this was very simple. Then we came to a next version, V2. V2 is like a micro SaaS. Okay, let's say Nikki says a person needs a personalized project plan. So what we came up with, like, okay, have someone log in. We need to store user login information. And this was a quick win as well, but it's in parallel development right now. So V1 was completed, then we moved to V2 recently, like last month in March. I think it's currently in development too. So what this does is we have 4 domains of life: digital, financial, legal, and physical. And then instead of 10 questions, now you have 40 questions. So each domain, you're going to assess that exact framework, but more deeper, more specific to your needs. And then there are like 2 more components to it, I think: beliefs and communication. But what it does now, the difference between the two is it has whenever you log in, you take that assessment. That assessment gives you results, how much percentage you are there, and it gives you some action items to complete, right? So let's say you went there and you stored your passwords in a wallet, right? Now it's done, you can check it off. And let's say you're busy today, you're going to come back tomorrow, that result is going to stay there. So that is what we use the database for. And we have some AI integration as well. AI is just Jesse avatar. It reads the project plan and it guides you in human language. So you can talk to it, and it's actually trained on Nikki's knowledge base, whatever she has educated people so far, whatever she has talked to people. That's a smart personalized project plan, and that's one-on-one. Like you each person get one personalized plan. And then we have further plan down the road to enterprise level. That's even more challenging. Like if you have a company who wants to give this as a benefit to their employees, so they come as a whole bunch of bulk sign up with us. Now, how do you maintain that data? How do you maintain that platform? So we put in place an architecture. What happened? Do we have a problem with QR?
No, keep going. Oh, did I stop sharing? Sorry.
No,
Again.
it's all
Sorry, let me give you this one. Hold on.
No, we're good.
Nikki, do you have the final playbook that URL?
The code?
Yeah, so the link from the code is
Oh, I think I just added a domain to it, so it's redirecting. Sorry about that, guys.
no.
It's in the chat.
Awesome.
All good?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So the enterprise levels, a SaaS, even though we are doing vibe coding, the traditional software development would be like taking a requirement from Nikki, break it into some chunks that are achievable over the period of 2 weeks. Like it takes like months and years to develop a perfect SaaS solution. But with the benefit of AI cloud code we're using heavily, we're turning work of weeks into hours. And I use AI as my co-work. I have fundamentals from software engineering background. Like I can understand what are the risks and benefits. The data has to be saved. Nobody get access to it. So one organization cannot see the data of other organizations. One user cannot see data of other organization. The chances to reduce the SQL injections of, the hackers, those are the security, risk, and benefits, that we have put into place. And the SaaS is like a complete engine, you can say. So there are some information here, just to, if you don't know what is a tenant, or what makes a difference between an app to a enterprise software or a SaaS. Basically, there are some identity level access. So someone at a employee level would not be able to see what a super admin can see. So let's say as in Devo, I am a super admin, right? I have access to all the organizations that are signed, that has onboarded with us. They are getting benefit. But we're just writing one platform. We're making one platform that can be used in isolation with other, each one get their own bucket, you can say. So data is protected, it's audit, it's up to the standard of compliance and security. And you have isolation as well. So it's in parallel development right now, Jesse V2, and then the SaaS platform. It takes a lot of time to mature the product, but we are in the very initial phase right now. So prototyping, those who want to understand where AI comes into place, I would just say, so not relying on AI completely, but have some architecture level due diligence too. That would be a great idea. Over to you, Nikki.
And so I do have more things I want to talk about with Endeavo, and to give you tips and tricks on how to best protect your digital afterlife. But because Nermeen has a time constraint here, I just wanted to also break it up and get your engagement. It's like, what have any of you built out an app what are you trying to solve for? And then do you have questions, either how to take that avoidance product and either scale it or make it in a way that, people are going to use it and adopt it. So if we can open up the conversation to hear what your experience has been building up until now.
Just come off mute and chat away.
So I've built a platform for speakers and educators, and it's called Magister OS. One of the things that I think is part of the friction in using the platform is that people feel a sense of loss of control over their intellectual property. Because one of the features in the app is to be able to store your intellectual property and also convert it into a product. So it's something that is a challenge for some people if they feel very, very protective over their IP. And I think that's a really big concept. And the other friction is that people do have like overlapping SaaS that they use currently. So like if they have MailChimp, or if they have, things like that, that is something that they use to manage contacts, newsletters, things like that. And there's a component of that in Magister. And so people having that, oh, I have to do this again and put this in here. And but there are a lot of features related to having your contacts available in Magister. So it's not like you do all this data entry or you migrate your contacts there and then that's it. No, you actually can utilize that as one of the resources and assets in the whole experience with the app. So having those two things, just because it's such a big platform and it services so many different areas of a business, those are some of the friction points. And I think, over time, when people see the benefits and they see the use of it, then they get comfortable with it.
Anybody else? Thank you so much. No, it's important to understand what you're trying to build and what's it trying to solve. And sometimes you don't realize how much, like, death for me was like, I never avoided it, but it wasn't until I started doing the research that I realized how much people really do avoid it and what are those, those blockers. And so we're trying to solve to break through the blockers as well.
So I have a question. It's more like on the build side, though, is like, what did you, I'm thinking like Nermeen does this like for work. So I don't think it's vibe coded, but like, what are you using and how did you choose what to use, like one over the other kind of thing?
Nermeen, the tools you used?
Oh, so I use, apart from AI or just development tools, you're asking?
Yeah, I was wondering, like, I was saying I don't think it's vibe coded. So like it's not lovable or it's not Replit or whatever. So it's just like it's something that like if someone here had a similar idea, we could like go and vibe code it, but you chose to go like the developer way. Is that?
Not exactly. I have vibe coded as well. The thing is, the language that vibe coding tools produce is React, and I was already familiar with it. So when there came the challenges and we were stuck somewhere, we have some problems connecting some dots like email API, some backend database. So I had that sort of advantage that I knew how to do it. But for someone who is completely non-technical, vibe coding does help it. But yeah, you have to make certain decisions. Like vibe coding will tell you, okay, you have these options, but you want to go and decide. We have a budget constraint. We have certain everyone has security.
Security's big.
So then, and there comes a point where you lose the what do I say? I can't translate my requirements or my vision to vibe coding anymore. Now, what do I do? That's the point where I feel stuck. But I think it's about prompting and using it to your best. So I found better than Lovable and Replit, Cloud Code is the best. If someone wants to use it into your desktop version as a co-work, and it will take care of your everything from front end to back end. And we have a lot of tutorials out there, maybe. So I always like to see like controlling our small parts and not to, because sometimes vibe coding do go crazy. You're asking something else and they're doing something else, right? It does happen a lot of times, but it's getting better every day.
Yeah, thank you. I just wondered what the decision, not decision tree, like how you came up with that decision, but that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
And I just want to be, as I'm getting in front of investors to pitch Endeavo and what our solution, investors are becoming very sensitive to vibe coding. And what they don't want is, do you have something that's AI wrapper? Like if they smell AI wrapper, they're not even it doesn't matter how great your idea is. They're basically like, well, I can get somebody else to do that. So there's like a deeper level. It's not just having a great idea, but now you need to have the technology behind you to show that it's something unique. And the biggest challenge right now is sitting here today. We don't know what any of these, Anthropic or OpenAI or any of these companies are going to be rolling out tomorrow. I mean, every week it's like something new. So, as a founder who's trying to build an enterprise solution, one thing I feel blessed is that I actually I knew I wanted to go with this 2 years ago. And this is before AI agents were like a thing. And thank goodness I pumped the brakes on development, because I could have easily spent $250,000 2 years ago to develop what Nermeen and her team have built in just a few weeks. I mean, that's the reality of it. So I'm very cautious about what I'm building and when I'm building it, because if we build it too fast, we'll spend too much time and money on something that might be done. She's got to run. She'll be right there. So I think that's another thing that we just need to be aware of is that the solutions are becoming fast and furious, and what took time and money might not be so much in a couple weeks or months, if not sooner. Other technical questions before Nermeen's got to jump and go with her family, but I'm going to stay on and show you some more death tech stuff. Nothing. Thank you, Nermeen. Enjoy your family.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about like what you can do today to best protect yourself. So, how many of you have Androids? Anybody here have an Android? No? Great. Okay. So what I'm going to do is
I do. I have one.
Okay. So I'm going to talk to iPhone users first, and then I'll get into the Androids. So when, as a digital thanatologist, what I, the first question I always ask is, hey, if you died tomorrow and your phone died with you, think about multi-factor authentication. How much of a mayhem would there be for those you left behind? So then, have you thought about that? So wanted to share with you that iPhone has this feature, Android has another process, which I'll explain. But if you have your iPhone, let's set up your legacy contacts right now, or at least show you what this feature is. So your legacy contacts, this is just part of Endeavo, what we do. Endeavo, we educate, project manage, and empower people to build out comprehensive end-of-life plans. Whether you die tomorrow, you get a terminal diagnosis, or you need a long-term care plan. Our platform is going into, and I probably should have had another slide here to kind of tell you what Endeavo is doing, is we're going into, going into HR spaces, and we're going into companies and offering end-of-life planning as a wellness program. So if you go to endeavo.life, ENDEVO.life, then you'll see, so just think like weight management, smoking cessation, like those are wellness programs for companies. Well, we're going in and saying, hey, employer, you're already offering your employees long and short-term disability, life insurance, and legal services. But because death is such a taboo topic, they don't know how to build out a final playbook, a roadmap, in order to have a comprehensive plan if life happened. So that's what we're building currently today for enterprise companies. That's what Nermeen and the team are building. I think I missed a slide on that and probably should have circled back. So as part of our roadmap, when I'm working with people, the first thing we want to do is, as part of that education, project managing, and empowering you, is we want you to secure your phone. And this is an activity that I always tell people you should do as a family activity. Like, hey, family of mine sitting around the table, I just found this cool feature on iPhone. You should try it too. So let's go through it together. You're going to hit settings, and then settings, you're going to go to the top left-hand corner and you'll hit your face or your initials. And then depending which model you have, it'll say privacy and security or sign-in security, password and security. This is obviously an older model. Click on that, it'll spin. And then you're going to scroll to the bottom. Does anybody on this call have anybody currently in their legacy contacts set up? And I can't see the chat, Vicky, so am I assuming
this
nobody?
Is Augusta. I do not, and I'm so excited to hear about this because I've been trying to do all of this for myself. So
awesome. So Augusta's a no. Anybody?
Larry's a yes. I think Neil is a yes. Yeah.
Well, because I showed you, didn't I, Vicky?
No, I already had mine set up.
Oh, that's right. I did. Vicky is like
Laurie and Claire are a yes, I think, awesome, as far as I can see.
So you want to go ahead and I always tell people, I make them read out loud to me. Now, the interesting part is I spend a lot of time in the Web3 space. So I'm like going to crypto conferences. I'm going down to Miami the beginning of May. And when I go to these crypto conferences, I'm always talking to the tech bros, tech babes. And I say to them, hey, you die tomorrow and your phone dies with you. Think about multi-factor authentication. And their response to me is, well, I'm not going to die. I biohack. And they honestly believe that. And at the same time, they don't have their legacy contact set up on their phone. So what does it mean when you don't have your legacy contact set up on your phone? It means that if you died tomorrow and your phone died with you, think about multi-factor authentication, like plane crash, phone is gone. Your loved ones would not be able to get into your data. They would need a court order to get into your phone. Now, I'm going to tell a story, and this is trigger warning, just to say how important this is. I had a client who had a 16-year-old child who unalived himself. So the child was, underage, and the parents owned the phone. But because the parents did not set up the legacy contacts in this child's phone, the parent could not access the texts that he was sending before he took his own life. And that they had to get a court order to get into the phone. So who should you put in your legacy contacts? As a thanatologist, as a digital thanatologist, I always recommend 1 to 5 people. You're allowed 1 to 5 people in iPhone. iPhone enables 1 to 5 people. As a thanatologist, I always work with the number 3, primary, secondary, tertiary. Why? Because if your spouse and you, it's like, oh, I put my spouse in my phone, just my spouse in my legacy contacts. And my response is, what if you're both in the car accident together? So this is like that risk management. You need to be thinking of the different scenarios. So who do you put in your legacy contacts? If you have a will or trust, make sure you put the executors and trustees in your legacy contacts. Oh, by the way, don't start adding people until you tell them. As I'm talking to you, it's like, please don't start adding people until you have a conversation with them, because as soon as you add them, they get an SMS and they'll be like, ask why are you sending me this? So have a conversation. Hey, I just found this feature in iPhone. Is it okay? And ask permission too. Is it okay that I add you to my legacy contacts? Because there's responsibilities behind that. Adding someone to your legacy contacts, primary, secondary, tertiary, know, love, and trust. Who are your know, love, and trust people? Because those know, love, and trust people, that is the foundation of building your final playbook. That's probably like step 1 that we work with people is like, who are your know, love, and trust people? For some, it's challenging, especially if you're a solo ager, that you have by choice made a decision to live a very independent life. So who do you put in? Who is going to shut down your life if you're no longer around? This feature here, in order to get access to the data, your legacy contacts would need to be in your legacy contacts, and they would need to present a death certificate in order to get access. So I have people worried about, oh my gosh, I don't want my children to find out what's in my phone. They won't get access until you're gone. It's still a good thing to keep your data clean. If you do have your estate documents done, my next recommendation is that you take this QR code and you do a hard copy print. A hard copy print of the QR codes. So I have a folder that says phone, and I have my kids. I have QR codes for my kids in there. I have my husband's QR codes. I am the healthcare proxy for several of my clients. I have their QR codes in there. So that folder now becomes part of my estate documents, right? And I put it in what I call my crucial doc box. So that is for iPhone. For Android, I'm an Android user. We have to go into our inactive, Google Inactive Account Manager. It's a little different, but it's still the same, where you're going to go in and name the people who would have legal access to your contacts. And from there, you can put a timeline, like if your Google account is inactive for X amount of months, then these people would have access. Building out my final playbook, this final playbook plan, what I'm trying to do is to take this framework and digitize it, to create a user experience, to get people engaged with gamifying, right? Like Duolingo and Noom. Like, how do we gamify, educate people while creating this behavioral modification on a topic that is taboo and on a administrative process that's very complicated? It's easy in my head because it's native to me, but to be able to translate what's in my head onto a document and then make that document understandable enough that a developer or someone, can translate it into the user experience, whether through vibe coding or full code, that's the challenge. And at the same time, it has been a journey that I've been excited to take. I say that working this project of mine is like having a newborn. You know, I wake up every morning and I look at it, and it's like a newborn where it doesn't sleep through the night. It shits, pisses, and vomits on me every day. It takes all of my money, and I look at it and I can't imagine my life without it. And that's a true project. It's a project that is worth building, worth believing in. And, you know, I light a candle every day that one day it will financially have some return on my investment. So with that, let me stop sharing and kind of open up the conversation to all of you. What has been your thoughts running through your head, either about the technology or about the technology or about the topic of death and dying in the digital age?
Go ahead, Moji.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. First, amazing presentation and amazing product. I think every time I've had to deal with something, like being the person that's left behind to deal with this stuff or having conversations with people, I just never thought the idea. I always thought, oh, I wish there was a channel or an app. So the fact that you want to gamify it, I think is a brilliant idea. Just because I'm having this conversation all the time. I'm in the Poconos because it's my birthday and it's a big birthday, and this is a conversation that I'm having more and more with my friends. Also, I also like the idea that you called it end of life, just because I think the term estate planning, from a social economic standpoint, tends to scare people. Like, because I had a friend, independent liver, I became her executor because she had no family, friends, or kids, and we've known each other for 35 years, and having to deal, and I was her proxy, and having to deal with all these medical things was just overwhelming to me. What's the point I was going to say? But yeah, she had no money. You know, she was on disability, all this stuff. So I think that sometimes people, depending on where you're coming from financially, you think, well, why do I have to plan? I have no money, and yet there's all this other stuff.
The opposite.
That's not to be. Yeah, which I learned the hard. I learned very, very clearly. So I just wanted to say that I mean, of course, we know this is important, but I'm just glad that you're creating something that hopefully will be accessible to all kinds of people. Just because, and also just from a demographic, like I know so many people who might be immigrants or people of color, and my thing is, if you have kids, you must have a will. The end of story. And yet, I know so many parents who don't. Like, I don't care what you don't have. You're a parent. You must leave some instructions. So I want to help and test or whatever. Oh, and also I think I said in the chat, bringing it and making it a wellness program, because my company that I work for, we get points for wellness. So this is also another thing. We get money when we do pick one of these programs. So I think it's fabulous. So I just wanted to sing your praises.
Well, thank you. And I wanted one thing, actually, again, I work for Cigna, and we've brought this to Cigna as a wellness program, and I'm trying desperately to work through the mothership to try and get them engaged, and they are. It's just going to take a while, but we actually, through Cigna, we rebranded it, because even end of life, people don't want to do that. So we now have rebranded it as Legacy Readiness and Digital Resilience, because people just don't even want to say the word, and it's hard. This is also like a marketing sort of like, life insurance is not really life insurance, folks. You only get it if you're dead. So if we can somehow start to change the conversation and prepare, and if one more person says to me, dead is dead, I don't care, they'll figure it out. No, the government will figure it out. And the government will take your money. And also, by the way, fun fact, the phone companies have more control over you than the government right now. Think about it. Right? the phone companies know more about you than the government does. So we just need to be more proactive and thinking about this plan. Lori, what you got for me?
So I've been on the other end, being the executor for 4 of my family members at different times. So I know what you have to go through to do all that. So it's quite something. Does your app, does it lead to all the answers? Like it gives you like a checklist and then it goes to that estate planner and it goes to.
So version now, no, we do have a readiness hub. Again, we're early, so we're waiting for those investors. So the real roadmap is version 1 is what we have right now, which is an educational program that we will project manage. So right now, all those answers are being built out with logic to give you a project plan, right? Then version 2 would be able to kind of like the knot for weddings is that we would have those affiliate partners to be able to provide guidance and service providers. Version 3 though is that we want to tokenize death. We want to be able, and again, if anybody's into Web3, the idea is that you are able to take your plan and then be able to wrap it up and put it on the blockchain.
Right.
From interoperability and transparency. So like it's a lot. It's a lot of just having the conversations. Yes, the Swedish death clean is part of our, that's one of those items in the project plan, depending where you are in life. But Swedish death cleaning is like, how much stuff do you want to leave behind?
I have Cigna for insurance too, so maybe I'll see you on there. It's a conversation. And it's interesting. The reason they're actually open to talking to me, besides the fact I'm an employee, is that the solutions that people have been providing right now, they've been post estate planning, grief. Like grief is, I don't know why, grief is like a really big thing right now. And my push is that, if you do this pre-planning as a wellness program, hey, life is good. Everyone's in great shape right now. Moji is like celebrating her birthday. Like Moji isn't like the best time to go out and like, hey, I'm going to go and prepay for my funeral arrangements so my loved ones won't have to worry about that. Happy 60th birthday to me. It's just changing the mentality versus the time and money that's spent, dying in intestate, don't be like Aretha Franklin. What can we do to have those, blows my mind, right? Claire, please.
Hi. You may have spoken to this earlier, but I apologize. But I was just wondering, I did hear you say that you've been spending more time with the app, the creation of the app, than with anything else in your life, basically. How long have you been working on this? Like, if one of us were to, have an idea about creating an AI app, and I also recognize, like you said, like 2 years ago, you would have wasted $250,000, So I know things are changing so rapidly that all of this is speculative, but about how long does it take to make something like this that's really solid, that's perhaps marketable?
So are we talking about an app or a SaaS solution?
Oh, either. I don't know. I don't know the difference.
Well, anybody can build an app now, right?
Okay.
Everyone's building apps now. You do a hackathon, you can build an app in a weekend. But going from an app to a SaaS solution, which is really what I wanted to present here, is like, it's a whole different game. There's a lot of security issues. And if you're going to be selling to a large corporation, they don't want to see the AI wrapper. They want to make sure that you're presenting something that has long shelf life, is not just something that someone can vibe code and then sell. I think that was more of the use case that I was trying to present here. Get Moji.
So you said how you're trying to sell this through Cigna. Who'd you go directly to an organization, like in your present state? Like you as Nikki go to an organization and try to.
I am. So I have, I say Cigna, but
it's the chicken and the egg. So I have like a list. We're waiting. I'm waiting for Nermeen and the team. They're like, we're almost probably like 4 weeks away where I can actually have a demoed version that I can start. So I do have a list of companies, and I'm looking for pilot programs. Anybody out there? And I'm also offering free of charge to any of you, if you are interested in being a beta and going through my final playbook and, making sure that you have a comprehensive, and we don't do estate planning. Estate planning is just one piece of this full puzzle, right? But to be able to go in and offer it. So to answer your question is, I'm actively looking for companies anywhere from 10 to 1,000 employees that are interested in bringing this concept of end-of-life planning as a wellness program to their employees. Yeah, and I'm easy to find. And it is more, it's estate planning is just tiny little piece, right? It's everything. And like I said, pressure testing, I'm happy to do one-on-ones. Vicky, I know that you had a hard stop, and I'm happy to hang out. You tell me.
Augusta had another question, so maybe we'll wrap up after Augusta's question.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, just really quick. I was curious if you've approached the end of life doula network at all, because I feel like that would also be another venue, but they wouldn't get you necessarily to employers.
No, so the doulas are one. Actually, the doulas would be more of my service providers, right? So if I'm talking to people, I'm educating them. They might not know what an end of life doula is. And end of life doulas are really in that. They're like, again, if you looked at that whole pie that I shared, legal, financial, physical, digital, they would be just in like. They'd be like in the terminal diagnosis end of life quadrant. So they'd just be like a little piece versus, okay, here's a fun fact. I don't know. In talking to social workers, if the problem social workers are having, hospice and palliative social workers, hospice specifically, social workers today, problem they're having today versus 10, 20 years ago, patients are dying with passwords. And that's something we didn't really think about. So that's just one of those, like, I think a lot of the doulas need training by me. They really need to understand the digital piece instead of, yes, being able to sit vigilant with a family who is going through end of life, but how can we haven't even gotten down the rabbit hole about grief bots and how you won't own your digital afterlife. And I haven't even gone down that one. You can watch a couple of my podcasts where we do talk about, where the technology exists today, where I can, and I did a training with the Stanford Pediatric Palliative Care team. And the training I did with the Pediatric Palliative and Hospice Care team was that if you have a child and the parent's been creating a digital library of that child, and now the child passes away, and then the parent is now sold on, hey, your child can live forever in this bot, because the technology exists today, Black Mirror, you can upload the child or loved one, it could be a parent, anybody, and you can upload their digital afterlife into the bot. And just like Siri or Alexa, have the whole home system. So you walk into each room. Hi, mommy. I miss you today. Oh, honey, what's the weather out there? Oh, mommy, don't forget. Or, hey, husband of mine who died in a car crash, or, right? That technology exists today. So that's like the whole ethical, when Facebook law, got their patent accepted, that's where we're heading.
Yeah.
So that's really what I want to talk about. Like, that's where I get excited to talk about. But the fact that I can barely get people to get their legacy contacts set up on their iPhone.
Right.
You see, like,
yeah.
or to have a will, or, if you, do you want hospice or die in an ICU unit? Like, there's so many conversations that need to happen before, like, do you want to become a bot?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yeah, the death doulas are great, but there's so many steps that we need to take. I just think that, especially with AGI, I want to sound the alarms, and at the same time, here's the truth. What gets me up and motivated every day is that death is the most humanistic thing we will all go through. AI will never take our physical death. It's also recession proof, so I'm motivated. Like, at least I picked a business model that's recession proof. But it's still trying to, I feel the pressure and the urgency, because I think AI is happening so fast. And I also believe that these companies are not being upfront about what they're doing with our data. Mm-hmm. And what happens to our data. And for some of us, we haven't really thought about our own mortality, but maybe our parents, and they were like, oh, well, my parents don't have a big digital footprint. But I challenge you, if you were gone tomorrow, how would people shut down your digital afterlife? Who would own it?
That is a great question to end on. So something about food for thought. So thanks for that, Nikki. And thanks also to Nermeen, who isn't here to hear the
Thank you.
She might play it back later. So yeah, we for those of us who are not aware, we do run LOLs every 2 weeks or so. And in 2 weeks' time, we will. I just realized I'm not even going to be here. On the 5th, it's the 2nd, right? No, I mean, is that right? 2 weeks.
I thought it was it May 1st? Is that a Saturday?
I think May 1st is the 2nd. I'm not sure. It's around then. Anyway, okay. I'm going to be traveling, and I'm actually going to. If you're around on the Sunday, I'm going to pop in on you, because I will be staying in like your neck of the woods that night, so we can like hook up at dinner or something. I'll be on my way back from Minneapolis. Okay. But yeah, so keep an eye out. I do not have the next event up in the salon yet, just time crunch, but it will get up there. And that is the continuation of Noemi's presentation that we had to and like, because we only went 2 hours. I think we didn't have 4 hours to get that completed. So, that will be the continuation, and it will be in there in the salon. The recording of this session will also be in the salon as soon as I can get around to doing it. Like, that varies between like a day and a week, or thereabouts. And if anyone has an idea for something else that they want to either learn about, or something that they want to present to the community, in this same kind of setting, just let me know and we can get you on the schedule.
Yep. If you're interested in beta, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Also, I have this, it's called the Quick Start, and it's just a step-by-step, like it gives you the checklist. I know you can't see it. I have it in digital form. So just message me and I'm happy to share that with you as well. Get your legacy contact set up, folks. All good.
Ready. You heard the lady. Go and do it if you haven't already.
Fun activity. All right. Looking forward.
I should say, you can also contact Nikki in the salon. Just send a DM as well, right?
Yep.
So,
all right. Thank you.
That's all, folks.